Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
We are back, viewers, loyal viewers across the globe. Welcome, Eric Butler. My microphone works this week, thank God.
Amazing. This is good.
How are you doing?
Great, and I'm glad your sound is back. I don't know, we had a little bit of technical difficulties last week, but this is a big week, so I'm glad you sound great.
Big week. Everyone's excited for the Canadian election, but the first story is, will there be vaccines in your salad and your vegetables? The answer is yes. That's really weird to say. It's creepy nonetheless. It takes away the freedom of your choice, but here we are in 2021. I think that's the current year. Yes, 2021. Vaccines in your salad, says WFLA.com. I'm guessing of Florida. Scientists growing medicine-filled plants to replace injections. Sounds to me, Eric Butler, right off the top, that's a thing where we can feed to people without them knowing it. And how could that be good for you? Let's read a bit more of it. Vaccinations.
I think it's from LA. I believe it's from LA, like VFLA. It's a
not
Riverside, which is like the a
Tampa,
suburb of Los Angeles. You're right. Well,
take that.
You're 100% right. But I thought it was LA because the study came out of Riverside, which is a suburb of LA. So that's what I thought. But you are 100% correct.
Take that and smoke it. Vaccinations can be a controversial subject for many people, especially when it comes to injections. So what if you could replace your next shot with a salad instead? Yeah, that's what people don't want. I hope that's not what they're boiling down the argument to. Researchers at University of California, Riverside are working on a way to grow edible plants that carry the same medication as an mRNA vaccine. People are just going to be, freaking out. Imagine taking a vaccine, trying out a piece of lettuce in the grocery store. The COVID Vaxx is one of many inoculations which use messenger RNA. No, it's not, by the way. So right away, I have a problem with this article. Is one of many inoculations. This is the first thing to ever be approved with mRNA. I don't know where they're getting this. I'm 100% certain on that. That's why it was so controversial at the beginning. They've never used an mRNA technology massively on the public. It's been studied for a very long time, I think since the late 80s to early 90s, but they've never once approved it for use. So I don't know where they're getting that information.
But you can see
Fight
how
me, Chris Malore.
They're trying to rewrite history before it's even happened, right? Like
they work by teaching cells from the immune system to recognize and attack a certain infectious disease. If we get pulled off of YouTube, that's because of Chris Malore from studyfinds.org. Unfortunately, they have to stay in cold storage until use or they lose stability. The UC Riverside team says if they're successful, the public could go eat plant-based mRNA vaccines, which could also survive at room temperature. So here's a crazy thing, and we'll cut back to us for a moment, Eric. We're now going to start putting controversial, at the very least, possibly unstable, and previously unheard of in terms of use medicines in vegetables for the public to consume. How many levels of insanity is that?
It's absolutely mind-boggling, right? Again, I feel like a broken record, but we say this every week. I mean, it started with a simple donut. People didn't want it, right? If you had the opportunity, I could go right now to the grocery store across the street from my house and go get it. Maybe they're closed on Sunday, but the point is,
reference.
These shots are readily available. If you want it, you can go get it now. And I'll be honest with you. The idea of a needle is far down on the list of the reasons why I don't want this. Yeah, I'm not. So I have a couple tattoos, but I don't like. Nobody wants to go get a shot. Actually, maybe some people do. I don't know. But the point is, they sold it to us as a life-saving thing. They told us to get in line when they thought everybody wanted it. They offered incentives, lotteries, the list goes on. And now they're just going to sneak it into your food like a dog. And that's the same thing with the post, the Rebel News post of Trudeau talking about you getting a reward for getting it. Like, does this not fall right in line with that? It's like, my dog won't eat his warm medication, so I sneak it into his kibble. This is insane.
If we start allowing pharmaceutical companies to not just to pair with food growers, but to put medicines in our food, I would hope this would be very specifically labeled. And I mean, are the vegans going to get up all in arms, or are they going to support this? There was a long historical fight over putting ingredients in big bold letters on foods in the grocery store, and I believe that fight was won by whoever it was pushing for that. And now you've got something that non-controversial public knowledge to say messes with your protein spikes. What effects is that going to have if you're just having people mowing down on this? Are you going to give, and it's readily available? Is someone only allowed to buy one head of lettuce?
Just to your point, I mean, they've already lied in the article.
Yes.
So they're they want you to think that this has been happening for decades already. Oh, well, this is one of many. No, it's not. It's actually the first. You were trying to sneak it into people's food, which is one of the creepiest things I've ever heard of. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the article, one of the researchers or one of the scientists, I believe she says that she started working with this technology. Yeah. But for
so I could apply it to plants.
For high value products as well, like pharmaceuticals. So it's just another way, like the farm, as I like to call them, the farm mafia it's either the
gene delivery.
It's crazy. So it's either the pharmaceutical industry, which is basically in bed with the FDA and the CDC. They are effectively the president now. They are effectively the people in control of everything. And everything revolves around what the pharmaceutical industry wants. And I think, obviously, I'm not the first person to say that, but it's just getting so obvious. And that's why they lashed out at Nikki so hard.
This is really, I just want to see, even if you're not skeptical about this stuff, you think it's just for the greater good of everybody, just read this and think about the implications that it could have. Our idea is to repurpose naturally occurring nanoparticles, namely plant viruses, for gene delivery to plants. Some engineering goes into this to make the nanoparticles, microscopic particles, go to the chloroplast and also to render them non-infectious towards the plants. So what that means is we want to make very tiny microscopic particles and put them into the plants so that the plants don't change at all. So they want to put whatever they want into plants without killing the plant, essentially. And then she says, quote, one of the reasons I started working with nanotechnology was so I could apply it to plants and create new technology solutions, not just for food, but for high-value products as well, like pharmaceuticals. So they want to be able to put pharmaceuticals into food to the point where you can't even notice. That's literally what that means, whether you think it's for better or for worse. But that's what it means. Put tiny particles of high-value products like pharmaceuticals into plants. I'm frothing at the mouth here, Eric. Into plants so that it doesn't harm the plant or change the plant at all. And if that's how I'm understanding it, which I believe I am, that's insane. What else are we putting in there? Are we putting pharmaceuticals is drugs? I'm going to say drugs. Are we putting hallucinogens in there? Are we going to start putting they already put vitamins and they grow plants and they inject animals with things that are beneficial to us. They already do that. But now they want to do it where it's microscopic, where you can't even tell the difference, if I'm reading this correctly, and I think I am.
That's what it sounds like. And it's obviously fairly reminiscent of Alex Jones and the fluoride in the water and that sort of thing. And I mentioned this on an Instagram Live I was doing with a buddy of mine the other day, but why are they so adamant about putting us into this deal, right? It is obvious that the money has already changed hands, right? These shots are free to me and you, but do you think that Pfizer and Moderna are just working pro bono for the last 2 years on this because they just love us so much? No, the money has already changed hands. The government is going to continue to print out money, trillions here, trillions there, money printer, go brrr type of stuff, right? So, but why, if the deal has already, the transaction has already occurred, why do we even need to be involved, bro? You already printed the money. You already gave it to them. Just go away in your corruption and stop trying to I was going to say inject us into it, no pun intended, but why are you trying to include us in this deal when clearly the exchange has already happened? Like, just go on with your corruption without us and leave us alone and let us work regular jobs. I don't get it.
Here's what I think. I think, like any good salesman, which many politicians have become, you want to show that you were able to move product. Yes, you've purchased the product from your supplier, let's say. People can take this however they want. It's through YouTube and Twitter. Twitter is not going to take anything down. It's fine. But YouTube, we have to be careful about. Look how many things I've moved. And now this proves I can sell more for you. That's what I think it is. And if we get 1, 2, 3, 4 now doses is what we're up to in Israel. 2 doses is no longer vaccinated. Then I'm showing you that we can get you that 3rd and 4th one, maybe in North America. Maybe in Israel or some other place, we can get you 5 and 6. So I think some places are showing, look how much of this I can get the people to take. Look how much of it I can sell for you. Whatever the deal is, I can do more for you. Now, best case scenario, it's look how good I am at doing the right thing for the people. So if we're taking the best case scenario, which is a politician who really wants to do well, and they think all of this is a symbol of doing well and taking care of their populace, then that's another thing. That's another way you could explain it is look how well I'm convincing the people to do the right thing. Look how well I've done by getting everybody vaccinated. We're all going to be healthy. I'm doing a great thing. Elect me again. And I think those are the only 2 ways. And even the best case scenario, which I think I just mentioned, it's still a really weird world to live in. It's still a weird world where, and we've seen this coming, a world where virtuousness is the highest level of currency, combined with oppression. So
Victimhood,
a mayor of the city of Calgary in Canada can't really say he's oppressed, even though he does. Mayor Nenshi is his name. He can't convince a lot of people that he's oppressed. So what's the next best thing? I've kept you all safe. I've done such a great job. Re-elect me again. I'm such a good person. It's different forms of being. I'm a victim, therefore I'm the best person, or I have the most virtue, so I'm the best person.
Or you're a victim and I'm the only one that can help you, basically.
That's true too. Even though in all places in the Western world, non-white people, besides Asian, so I won't even say that, Black people and Hispanic people in the Western hemisphere in North America are the least likely to take it. That never gets brought up in terms of oppression, the government forcing more than half of Black people to get a vaccine that they don't want. Allegedly, apparently, statistically, Eric Butler.
Well, here's one thing to your point about them proving to the pharmaceutical overlords that they can move the product is what you used to see when Cuomo was still in office, and de Blasio still does it. Now, I will admit Newsom and London Breed and even Garcetti, I believe in LA, they don't do it to this level, but every day, like clockwork, Cuomo would post the number of cases and the number of shots received. And then de Blasio started doing it every single day, not because he was really talking to the citizens of New York City, but in my opinion, to your point, was talking to the pharmaceutical manufacturers saying, look at how many we got to do it today. Look at how many we got to do it today. So he's proving to them that he can sell the product. And to the point about being, the best case scenario, why, and maybe I mentioned this before, but why have we never once seen anybody, left, right, or center, not DeSantis, not Donald Trump, not Kristi Noem, not Doug Ducey, not Newsom, not de Blasio, none of these people have ever once said, hey, we think this will work for you. Why don't you look into it? Ask your doctor. It might be able to help you. It went straight from they went straight from pretending that it wasn't going to be enough supply, to you have to or you can't participate in society like that. No, but there was never a middle ground. There was never like, hey, that we didn't get an infographic about the benefits of it. We didn't get any logical explanation about it. It went straight from this is going to be so scarce that you got to wait in line to, oh, you don't want it? Well, now you have to. What happened to that middle ground? Let me know. Did I miss it?
No, it does not exist. But look at this article I just found linked in that article. Flu and COVID-19. Can you combine the vaccines this year? Unbelievable. It's from this service that's providing news called Nexstar. I just noticed. I don't know who this is, but they're selling their articles like hotcakes. It sounds like. Where were we here? Flu season's once again approaching, and COVID-19 season never really ended. Doctors are reminding people the best way to protect themselves against both illnesses is getting vaccinated. This year, is it okay to take both at the same time? Plain and simple, the CDC says yes. That goes for your first round of COVID shots. If you haven't been fully vaccinated or had your booster shot, they're selling this within the article. The CDC, isn't the FDA, who is it? The FDA or CDC said that they don't approve of the booster shots yet?
It was the FDA, I believe.
There you go. So this news station goes above and beyond in their effort. Alex Martichoux, disappointed with a French-sounding name there. Either way, the CDC advises healthcare providers it's safe to administer both vaccines at the same time. So, Eric, now we've gone from get your COVID vaccine, it's safe. You might as well get the other vaccine at the same time, the one that only 20% of people usually get. Now, I'm going to look to find this in a moment, Eric, but for those of you who don't know, the flu effectiveness or the flu shot effectiveness ranges wildly. In some places they've studied it, it's gone upwards of like high 70s. In other places they've studied the effectiveness, it's as low as 20%. No one knows. It's not a very effective shot. I think I took it once in my life, got the flu anyway, never took it again. That had to be when I was like, I don't know, I want to say like 18 or something. Because I was like, I don't want the flu. I'm stupid. I'm 18. And then I got the flu anyway. So I was like, this doesn't make a difference. So I never got it again. But to say, Eric, that now we are why not get the other one at the same time? I'll read a bit more of this and get back to you. I think this is just, this sounds like greed to me.
100%. And well, can I just
Moderna's working to develop a hybrid vaccine for both. For the company hasn't started clinical trials yet. Oh my God.
It's laughable. It's a joke, right? And I will say, I will give a little bit of credit to, I don't know, the powers that be here in South Dakota, because the COVID propaganda has kind of subsided, and they went back to flu shots. Like I said, if you go to a number of grocery stores in my neighborhood, and they're promoting the flu shot, so I can kind of give them credit for like sort of trying to pretend to go back to normal, and like, all right, well, that pharmaceutical that you guys didn't want, that didn't work, so let's just go back to the flu shot and it'll all be okay. It's astonishing.
This is just a vaccine ad, this article. The side effects associated with the flu shot and COVID-19 vaccines are similar. They include fever, headaches, muscle aches, and fatigues. Everyone's a little bit different, but those after effects from any vaccine are possible. The CDC recommends getting the flu vaccine before the end of October. Now, get it now. Do not wait more than 2 weeks. Start now. Get it before the next end of the next month. If you haven't already, and getting a booster shot 8 months after your second Pfizer Moderna dose or one of your Johnson & Johnson doses once it gets approved by the FDA. If you haven't already, this is bad writing, and getting a booster shot or one of your Johnson & Johnson. Get your vaccine as soon as possible if you haven't already. So get the flu shot already. And this is, I want to find who this person is just writing ad copy for Pfizer and Moderna.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, maybe this is a silly question, but is the flu shot also free? I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it is here, yes.
Okay. Now, can I just say, really, and a lot of people are probably not going to want to hear this, but I've never been worried about this. I was never once worried about corona. Remember when it was just called coronavirus, and then that wasn't scientific enough, so we started calling it COVID-19. But my point is, I was never worried about this because I just don't get sick, bro. Like, I got the chicken pox in kindergarten. I got a hangover in college, and like my tummy hurts. Oh, I got a sore throat. I have a headache. It doesn't happen to me, bro. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm not worried.
This girl's verified on Twitter with 675 followers.
She's the one who wrote the who.
Yes. I wrote about the crucial role of local news reporters in the slow and chaotic COVID vaccine rollout. People have a lot of question and are returning to local reporters. So yeah, they work for this company, Nexstar, which I believe is a news aggregation service. I've heard of their actual like program that they have before. You learn about that in college, and when you take something that's related to news. I took public relations and radio, I'm familiar with that. But it looks to me like they just have like quote unquote nameless. I know that sounds mean, but non-popular writers, and they just push out these stories for mainstream media to take. Vaccines in your salad, Colorado school shooter, January 6 riots, earthquakes, protesters at DC rally, and then she also wrote this article. Flu and COVID-19. Same company wrote this article, the vaccines in your salad, as we saw. So she is just pumping out propaganda. These articles for somebody.
And wasn't there, now college was a long time ago for me, but wasn't there, I remember somewhere along the lines hearing that if your title has a question mark in it, then you're already like, you're kind of already off the mark. Like you're already baiting people. You're leading people.
Yeah.
You're kind of did Joe Biden say my butt's been wiped? No.
Well, it's stuff that you would do like early YouTube days where it's just like, you can't really come up with a title. And before people knew the answer to it. Did these protesters know any of Hillary Clinton's policies? Oh, I don't know. Did they? Click. Oh, of course they didn't. So then after like 2017, I don't think you could use that anymore.
Yeah, this is a mess, bro. And unfortunately, now see, even just in that little tiny bit of research that you just did live on air, right, for the whole world to see, a lot of people are never going to do that. There are people who won't even click the links in articles. They won't even click the references within, like, it's one thing to research the author and to research the organization, but it's a whole nother thing to just simply click a source that a writer is linked to. And unfortunately, people won't do that. I mean, we talked about it last week with D.L. Hughley, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago, D.L. Hughley screenshotting the horse paste propaganda without even clicking the link that had the retraction at the top of the article. So we've come so far. It's crazy.
Well, when somebody writes something particularly stupid and obvious, like maybe you should get both your shots at the same time, then I like to find out who they are and if they have some sort of voice. And the rare time I'll question them on it. Especially if it's a Canadian reporter, I feel much less shame about being like, you're pathetic than I do somebody who's really far away. Because, in Canada, it's like, it's just people begging to be part of the political class here. And there isn't much of one. I was explaining to my friend the other day about like, not personally knowing, but knowing who works for these parties. It's not a big country population wise. The people that work for the Liberal and Conservative parties here, we know people who I know are friends with the people in these parties. People, we've met them at these events, or they've kept us out of events. They're wieners. They're losers. It's like, and these are the people running the country and making policy. Now, granted, they're not the ones actually writing it. They get some kids fresh out of political science university to write their legislation for them for whatever they want. But I don't want nerds and losers running my country. Like, it's enough. Like 2013, you come to me and you say, Andrew, in 8 years, you're going to say there's too many nerds and losers. 2013, Andrew might say that's kind of harsh. I would like to know why he's being mean like that. 2021, Andrew, is we've gotten to this point where I know, like, it just has to be said who's a loser, and they can't be running things for us anymore, because this is how we got to please purchase things from black creators on Amazon, or buy something from a black store on Uber Eats, or just race things thrown at you. These are the people that want it. And now our Conservative Party is just as bad as the Liberal Party. They're all just throwing platitudes at you day in and day out and saying, like, look, we'll balance the budget in 10 years. Speaking of Trudeau, though, let's play the clip
Well,
of him.
Really quick, have you noticed
Yeah.
though how it shifted just this month because now YouTube is doing the Latinx thing? I just noticed that like they shifted the black people away just for this month, and they're gonna do Latinx thing. Same with the stickers on Instagram, the GIF stickers on the Instagram story. They have Latinx now up front and center. So it's just kind of funny that they've shifted just briefly for this month, the month of September, to target the Latinx population. I just thought that was funny.
I was just remembering this. 98% of Latinos don't want to be called Latinx. This was November 2019. Sorry, what's your face? All right, let's get some Trudeau in us.
We're paying for the provincial vaccine passports to make sure that when someone comes into a restaurant, they'll know they won't be sitting beside a table of people who are unvaccinated. When you go into a gym, when you go to a movie theater, you need to know that if you've done the right things, you get to be safe. You get to be rewarded for having done the right things. That's what it's all about.
Get to be
and
safe.
Those people who still hesitate, who still resist, well, they won't enjoy the same things that those who've done their part for others. It seems like a very logical thing. It seems like a very obvious thing.
Does it? Does it seem like a very logical thing that you should segregate people based on their vaccination status?
No, it's mind-blowing because they have framed this in such a way. They have framed it in such a way, just like everything else. I mean, we both know that everything is completely backwards, right? So they are now framing it to the point where if you didn't inject yourself with this experimental drug that we say you will die if you don't get, then you are now putting other people at harm. Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing where it's like people are saying it's not about freedom. People who are vaccinated should be free to be like it's just the mental gymnastics is through the roof. So everything, quite literally everything, is backwards. So now the freedom lies in the fact that, and I'm sorry, they say that, well, you have a choice. Well, nobody said you didn't have a choice. You could get the shot or you could work from home. It's like that is not a choice. That is the exact opposite of a choice. And you are now claiming that, and I don't know what the breaks down, the whole population of the United States or whatever, 60% of them might actually have this thing, but you can't say that something that happened less than a year ago is now 100% the norm, right? They've just flipped it on its complete head. It's like, no, dude. This time last year, the regular majority of people didn't have the shot, and now they're making it seem like it's just, oh, my pearls are clutched. How could you not get the shot? I mean, you're gonna kill that person. Like, guys, the drama, the overbearing nature of this that's what's. You can't tell that that's making people hesitant. I mean, they know it's just it's a war, and they just don't care.
From the very beginning, the constant coercion, I think, must set people off. I was going to say it must set people back. I mean, from getting something. People know when somebody's trying to force something for you to take for free, that there's a catch. Like,
yeah,
ask anybody who isn't like a rich kid.
Yeah,
if somebody's something given to you for free. I wanted to ask you, did you see all the stuff yesterday about this fake protest at the Capitol?
Yes, and it's like hot fed on fed action where they accidentally
I wanted to show this video where there was a guy who people pointed out had a gun. And I think this video, you'll see it here. So the crowd points out that a guy has a gun, and they go to search this guy, and you'll see it right here. And they're searching him, and they end up pulling out his badge, which is really hilarious. And they ask him if he's undercover, and or if you're working here, and he just says, "Oh, I'm just here." So this is where he's going to pull out his badge right here. I'll try to keep the cursor on it, and you can see. I'll pause it. Right there, you can see that you can see when he opens it that there's like a badge there, and more so when he flips it. And then even the audio, I know you can't hear it now, but he says, "Are you undercover here?" And he's like, and they're like, "Are you working here?" And he's just like, "I'm just here." And then people start asking him his name. This person's very suspicious. This woman here and this guy here getting good shots. And everybody's just like, okay. They don't take his gun. They don't take anything from him. In fact, I think he's double checking his badge here again, or possibly his wallet. And then they says, can I get a pyramid out of here? And they just escort him out. So everybody's talking about how there's just all these feds at this protest that was supposed to be in support of January 6th. And it's mostly feds. And now I don't know where this picture originated from, but I think people are saying that this was at the protest where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys all dressed pretty much the same with military haircuts. You can tell because they're not supposed to have hair touching their ears in the military. And everybody's just memeing it out. That's funny. Your favorite guy, PC principal. We got a Hunter Biden meme here.
Yeah, because it reminds you of like I'm sure you've seen the old New York City memes where it's like it's obviously a cop. He's wearing a Derek Jeter jersey, and he's like, "Hey, you guys got nickel bags of pot?" Like that's what this is like. You know what I mean? It's like obvious that they're trying to create this narrative that Trump supporters are terrorists, and even though we quite literally have political prisoners, the southern border, I think. There's a lot of juxtaposition here with them sending out these like guys dressed up like RoboCop. You know, these guys look like he looks like I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Star Wars, but he looked like that robot guy from Star Wars, all like metallic. That's what it looks like.
General Grievous.
I don't know what it's called, but that's what they look like. Meanwhile, you know, the southern border looks like a damn music festival. You know, it looks like Coachella under a highway in South Texas, but nobody cares about that.
This guy?
I mean? No, dude.
He's a robot.
No, is it C3PO or just the guy?
Stop pretending you don't know who C3PO is.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was confusing him with the little guy that looks like a trash can.
R2D2.
R2D2. Okay,
is this No, black people watch Star Wars. It's an Eric thing.
No, I didn't say anything. You made it a race thing. I didn't say. I mean, I never saw Star Wars. All the Disney movies that people love. I never saw any of that stuff.
I've never seen any Harry Potter, Eric. I don't know about you.
I've never seen it, dude. I
don't know if I believe that.
Dude, when I was a kid, I used to watch. Like, honestly, I'm not joking. It was just NBA and WWF. That was the only thing I would ever watch. Like, I didn't do Disney or a little bit of Nickelodeon. Like, I did watch, Doug Funny and maybe a little bit of Rugrats, but I don't know any of like the movies and stuff. But all that aside, they got those guys out there arresting themselves, basically, while the southern border looks like Coachella. And on top of all that, the U.S. gymnasts, Allie Raceman and Simone Biles and Michaela Maroney completely exposed the FBI's corruption.
Did they?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
this about?
Oh, this needs to get more coverage because they went on record and said that they had told the FBI about, I think his name's, I forget his first name. Larry, is it? Nassar, yeah, is his last name. They didn't take the claim seriously, and the FBI apologized and say, "Oh, well, we're sorry about that," and they're arresting themselves.
Oh, when they brought the sexual assault claim to them and they didn't take it seriously?
Yep.
Probably because they're like, oh, this is going to make us look bad.
Well, it's that. And I mean, look, I'm going to take a little bit more cynical approach and say that the FBI is obviously the enforcement arm of the establishment left-wing politicians. And for better or for worse, a good portion of the left-wing politicians are into children, to put it nicely.
Here's what I don't get, Eric, is we see this stuff with the FBI being terrible. Everybody talks about how oppressive it is and how bad the government is, but they still go out and they still think Democrats are the greatest things ever. Now, you don't have to like Republicans like Mitt Romney or Lindsey Graham, clear neocons in the sense of they wouldn't be doing anything differently if they were in power. That's why they always vote with them. Lindsey Graham, also very pro-war. But all this stuff keeps happening. The FBI very against Trump, very in the Democrats' pockets. I'm talking with the Pelosi's and the Bidens, the Bidens and such. But somehow people still don't make this connection with the Democrats and all this corruption they see, because people are so easily convinced by the pretty words. Like, don't you see the stuff? Like, if you agree that the border should be open and people should be flooding in, which is what is happening, how can you disagree with the treatment that they receive? Let's go past the letting people through the border, which is not something I agree with. They're already on the other side of the border. So what the solution is it to put them under the bridge like they've done? Is it to cram them all into this space, which they condemned Trump for? And they never condemned Obama for, but he got some of the blowback because those photos were from his time, the very popular photos of kids in cages.
Yeah, the little burritos.
Yeah, they don't put two and two together, that like they don't actually care. All it is okay, we can't enforce the border, but once they get it to the other side, now that they're sleeping under an overpass, it's okay. They don't actually care. The FBI isn't actually there to care. No. Now, I'm sure there's tons of people at the FBI that are great law enforcement agents that worked their way up because they wanted to make a larger difference. Drug cartels, sex trafficking, stopping that stuff. But
debatable.
I'd have to see some statistics on good people. Let's get the good people survey out. But I just don't want to paint everybody because that's unfair.
But to your point, it's the exact same thing as these insane leftist crazies who always talk about structural racism and institutional racism. But Joe Biden has been in politics for 50 years. He is the structure. He is the institution. But you like it. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
The FBI, as it is right now, just seems to be a political arm, to like what you're saying. It just seems like they're there to enforce political narratives and make it happen. That, the fake kidnapping, January 6th, this past weekend, the poor girls from the gymnastics team. Imagine you work hard for like probably from the age of 6 to 16, the legal the lowest age you can be in the Olympics at. So you're working hard as a kid, working hours of a professional athlete, and you're just like, and you're getting diddled by the guy who's supposed to be like bringing you to this magnificent future of victories and crap. And the FBI is just like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And what happened to believe all women? What, like, these are all the same people is what people need to understand. The believe all women people are the same ones that don't actually believe you. The let everybody into the country people are the same ones that say who cares what happens to them when they get to the others, get inside the country. People need to start making this connection between, political establishment, a uniparty, if you will, even though I will happily agree with anyone who wants to say it's more the Democrats, because it is. In Canada, it's pretty much everybody, but not as much power. People need to start making these connections that there isn't any, fun-loving, sunshine, lollipops and rainbows political party. Doesn't exist. AOC, what the hell is she doing with her tax the rich while I'm, kissing ass with the rich? None of it makes any connections to people. That bothers me.
And can I just say, I just want to add one thing, is that it's the same people who will tell you that a man can magically become a woman, also say that you can't go into a restaurant unless you get the shot. I mean, you think Chuck Schumer, remember we talked about his whole little charade about, the fake cards and stuff? You think he's going to take a stand against a man going into the woman's bathroom? No, he's not.
Oh, Eric, what a world we live in.
And Allie Raceman, I believe it was Allie Raceman, who dropped the biggest hammer and said that Nassar was far more of a pedophile than he was a doctor.
Oh, God. That's disturbing. These poor girls' parents must feel terrible. There is something to be said for parents that let their children go everywhere by themselves, and that's not a good idea. But I would, like, on one hand, yes, protect your children at all costs. But on the other hand, if you're going to trust your kids with somebody, you would hope it would be, like the leader, the head physician of like the U.S. gymnastics team. You'd hope that there'd be some vetting involved with that, but who knows? We got an Eric Butler article. I hear he works for the TatumReport.com. More than a dozen former staffers of Rep. Pramelia Jayapal, a House Democrat from where, Eric? Washington State.
Yeah,
I see that it's in the title. Claim her treatment of them was contradictory to her public image. You don't say. This is going on the same vine. I'm glad we lined this up this way somehow. Last year, the Washington State Democrat proposed a Paycheck Recovery Act to prevent layoffs during COVID-19 by requiring the federal government to pay people's paychecks. In public, said that passing the law was a question of employee survival, however, or just don't lock them down. However, former staffers said that the legislator behaved quite differently in private. I'm shocked. According to BuzzFeed, Jayapal fired 2 employees without severance pay. Jayapal spokesperson Chris Evans, not to be confused with, Captain America, Eric, said that the decision was taken to best utilize the office's resources and that workers were given 6 weeks notice. Now, this reminds me of when Bernie Sanders would not give his staff a raise when they asked for a raise, and he just said, sorry, and said you can't have more money even though you're working overtime.
Yeah, and this, I think, also, right, it was a perfect kind of segue, and they even discussed the fact that one of them says, now, take it with a grain of salt. It is BuzzFeed reporting. So, they're not the most trustworthy, but they are sort of it seems like trying to take an honest look at some of this political establishment. But one of them even said it felt like Stockholm syndrome. And they are obviously not the only people afflicted with this, right? This is happening to Californians, to Washingtonians, people in Oregon who continue to bow down to these completely insincere and corrupt politicians. It never ends.
It's funny that, of course she's from Seattle. She's going to be progressive, but she's one of the most visible progressives. She's chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which makes sense, I guess, given where she is. But you're the chair of the Progressive Caucus, and you're still doing the whole "do as I say, not as I do" sort of thing, where it's like, oh, the federal government must provide these people with money. Oh, but not me, Eric. I can't be doing this. It's the federal government's job. I can't be taking a budget away from my office. That would be terrible. Just like AOC, I can't be paying for my grandmother's flooded basement or whatever it was.
No,
not
it's
me.
Crazy.
It's everyone else.
It's crazy. And they talk about, now, granted, they wanted to remain anonymous, which is fine. I have no reason to believe that these people are lying, because statistically it has been proven that her office has the highest turnover rate in all of Congress. So something's happening. I mean, she's like what's that? The Devil Wears Prada or something, where she's just berating these, 20-something kids who are trying to get into the industry, and they're just berating them, abusing them, harassing them, all because they want to get to this career point. And these staffers have questioned their desire to continue to work in public service and all sorts of things.
This is from the BuzzFeed article. Since taking office, Jayapal has had one of the highest staff turnover rates in the House due to large part, former employee says, the unrealistic standards she sets. It's not suitable to be able to stay for too long. Staffers' stories also reflective of major cultural shifts and broader recognition of inequities. Blah, blah, blah. It's undeniable that women in politics, oh my God. Now I see why we didn't use this as our primary source.
Yeah, and her chief of staff, when they asked for comments, literally just said that women of color are held to a different standard. It was racist and sexist. Didn't matter.
It was. Except that the fact she's a House representative and therefore makes what, $110,000? U.S. House of Rep salary.
I think it was 174. I think it's even more than one. I think AOC was quoted as making $174,000 a year, just on, for her main job. Who knows however many hoodies she sold or whatever, And she did get hit with 2 ethics complaints, I believe, for attending the Met Gala. 2.
The president makes $400,000. House majority and majority leaders, $190,000. House and Senate members and delegates, $174,000. This is 2015. What the hell, man? What the hell, man?
Yeah, and now with inflation, they've probably got a raise all the way up to,
$174,000. Not been increased since 2009. But if you are a House member and you also are a House majority or minority leader, I'm guessing you make, I don't know if that's just 193 or you get it additionally. It's still a lot of money, and we still know how much free shit they get and whatnot.
Yeah, and
so
it's
it
just
is what it is, you might say.
crazy how, I mean, people could, and this story will get no press. I don't even see Fox News talking about it. Like, can Tucker say something? Can Hannity or Ingram or any of these Gutfeld, somebody's going to say something? Because this is huge, bro. This is them admitting for the 100th time that the Democratic Party is completely insincere, but they continue to win. And that's what really makes me question the integrity of it all. Do
it's
people
getting
really,
good coverage?
is it?
New York Post, Newsweek, BuzzFeed, Breitbart, PJ Media.
Okay, all right. Well,
I want to see. Of places.
I want to see a 4-minute Jesse Waters clip on YouTube. I want to see some thumbs up on YouTube. I want to see some clicks.
Fox has it. Eric's gonna eat his words here.
All right.
Fox flash headlines by Edmund Demarche.
No, but that's gonna be just like a weekly
not
summary.
Jesse Waters. You need specifically Jesse Waters.
Well, no, see, that's just a weekly roundup of the stories.
So they just, my guess is they make clone articles of every single one of their headlines in it and then attach it to this video. It's smart, but they have it in here. So Eric, Jesse Waters, if you're listening, Eric wants an article.
Well, I say that only because it was either last night or this morning. Fox News posted a clip of one of Jesse's monologues that just tears into the FBI. I mean, he goes back decades and talks about their corruption, and it was amazing. And I was like, let's keep these coming. Like, I really like that. You can find it on my Telegram, by the way. It's linked on my Telegram. It's like 10 minutes long of Jesse Waters tearing into the FBI. It was amazing.
Eric Butler on Telegram, everybody. Before we get to, I think, one of our last stories, we can show you that Eric Butler's book is still for sale on Amazon. New York City 2020 Gotham Unglued hardcover, which is what I have behind me. Or you can get the Kindle version if you do not like physical objects and you want to see people covered in garbage bags and other materials. And of course, you can find him on TatumReport.com. There's his book. I want to show you guys Canadian elections tomorrow, you guys. By the way, if you didn't know, if you're watching from elsewhere, and I know you are, the battle of Trudeau and Trudeau Light rages on. I had a special with comedian Ben Bankus, Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter. She's a podcaster, and UFC bantamweight, featherweight, 145 pounds. TJ Laramie. And we talked about, now they kind of all agreed in their politics, which is hilarious. Those are 3 very different careers: podcaster, doctor's daughter, UFC fighter, and comedian. Very different views on a lot of things, but on politics for this election, they seem to come together. So we talked about Trudeau, we talked about the opposition, which is the Conservative Party. And I want you to pay attention to this clip here because he has asked Aaron O'Toole, the leader of the Conservatives in Canada, how are you going to balance this budget so our future generations don't have to pay for it? And his answer, everybody, is just spend more.
How do you intend, if you are elected prime minister, how do you intend to have this paid off so that generations are not paying for this for years to come?
Great question, Melanie. We're spending right now $424 million a day more than we're bringing in. That's not sustainable, and that's leading to inflation. So we have a plan to balance the budget over 10 years, focusing on help for families, help for small businesses, especially services and restaurants struggling after the pandemic, get them back on their feet. Some funds for healthcare and for mental health. We've got the third pillar of our plan is a national leadership role on mental health. But we have to get spending down in a way that's fair and disciplined.
I love the debit card B-roll. That's my favorite part of the whole broadcast there. I want to just go off a list off the top of my head here that I wrote down of the things Aaron O'Toole plans on spending more on: mental health, childcare, restaurant rebates. He wants to give people money back for eating in restaurants a couple days a week. No tax in yeah, that's a real thing. No tax in December on purchases. funding for the reserves and increased healthcare. That's aside from mental health and childcare, increased healthcare spending. Ben Bankus, this plan where it's over 10 years, which essentially is elect me twice and I'll do what I promised to do. Does this make any sense fiscally to you?
Yeah, I'm really the person to ask about financial responsibility. I don't know. I mean, if you go on Aaron O'Toole's social media, he talks about these issues that, people, if the world wasn't falling apart, people would be like, yes, great, let's talk about that. And like Michaela said, he's trying to get the liberal vote. He's trying to get the woke vote. And the people who would regularly vote conservative are in the comments going, what about the Vaxx pass? And what is that leading to? And that is, every time he speaks, if he's not talking about that and he just brushes those questions aside, then, he's going to lose core true conservatives, and some of them maybe are more radical, that are more anti-vax versus they're just pro-choice. But, that's just the road he's going down. And sometimes I watch some of the things he says and I go, this guy wants to lose.
Michaela, how do you think Canadians feel about this ever-growing debt? Do you think that is, I mean, obviously people notice when their costs of gas and their rent's going higher and everything's exploding into inflation, but do you think this is really top of mind for Canadians, spending more and more money and increasing our national debt?
No, I kind of agree with Ben. I think if we're not talking about COVID and reopening or closing or getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated or forcing vaccinations, nobody cares about anything else right now.
And if you want to see the rest of that, of course, go to rebelnews.com. It's on there. You can see us wonderful people. Ben Bank is really dressed up for this, Eric. Everybody was shocked how much weight he's lost and how good he looked. That's not how I look right now. I should have taken new photos too.
I mean, if we're going to talk about people who look good in that little panel, it's definitely not
Eric. It's TJ Laramie. Have you seen TJ Laramie shirtless?
Well, I'm just saying, Michaela, she's a MILF, right? She got a little shit. Anyways.
So his plan, the conservative leader, just to reiterate for a second, 10 years. So elect me not just one time, not just two times, but three times. Assuming we have an election every 4 years. He wants to be elected 3 times in order to balance the budget. How are you going to balance this budget, Mr. O'Toole? Oh, we're going to spend more money.
Well, can I just ask you, because what Ben mentioned is that he's trying to maybe pander to the leftists or the liberal, voters. But do you feel, I mean, that doesn't, here in America, that doesn't work anymore, right? Like even 2 elections ago, even back in Obama or whatever, like you could have, a Mitt Romney or something who would pander to the left and maybe make a little bit of leeway, make a little bit of headway. But now we've become so, I mean, the split, mostly because of the media, has become so wide that you had a transgender gubernatorial candidate in California and they still hated him. I mean, they hated him with vitriol, like real NPC angry meme type of stuff, like very angry. So it doesn't make sense to pander to the left, because now you're only going to lose more of your base, because the left has been controlled and they will not, they won't. So my question to you is, are you guys quite that divided, or could this actually win over some liberal votes?
We're divided in the same way. It's not the only way it would have won over liberal votes is if he was against lockdowns and vaccine passports, and maybe some liberals who are liberal people are just like, oh, I'm against this sort of stuff. I guess I'll vote conservative because the rest of the platform is pretty much the same. But he didn't even do that. 99% of his platform is the same. He just wants to spend his money in different places. And to his credit, he's not being as mean about it. He's not saying we need to divide people like Trudeau is. Trudeau literally says he doesn't care that he's dividing people because he's right and because what he's doing is the right thing to do on behalf of people who are vaccinated. So there's not enough of a difference for him to pull any votes from. It's just, do you want to be with the guy who is vigilant about what he says he's going to do with the vaccine passports and vaccines, or you want to be with the guy who's, friendlier about what he's going to do and has already gone back on like 5 of his promises from before. So he's not going to get any other votes. The only votes that are being siphoned off of are the NDP, which is imagine a party made up of people from the squad of progressives. They're going to siphon the votes off from the Liberals because they're not being leftist enough. And the PPC, who's an actual conservative party, is siphoning off votes from the Conservatives because they're not conservative enough. So the votes are going away from the center, of course, and it's not the center. Both the major parties are probably, if this is the center, the Liberal and Conservative parties are over here. They're not too liberal, but they're not conservative at all. They're not conserving anything. But then the rest of the votes are going in other directions. So the PPC is the most normal party. I won't come out and I won't endorse anybody. But if you want to vote for Conservative and your bit is we have to get Trudeau out, then that's your bit. I wildly disagree with the idea that I shouldn't vote for what I like the most. You can be a strategic voter if you want, but don't tell me what to do. If you want to vote for an actual conservative, vote for the PBC. If you want to vote for an actual leftist, then vote for the NDP. Or if you want to vote for a globalist, vote for the globalist Green Party. Don't just I can't understand why people just want to vote for a liberal guy who's not really liberal, but he's kind of like a dictator and he hates people that disagree with him and he gets angry. I don't understand how people would want to vote for a conservative guy who just claims to be conservative in name, does nothing conservative, backs off anytime there's any pushback from Twitter on any of his policies. I don't get it.
Yeah, they're absolute cowards. But this to me does and we already knew this, right? It's not a surprise. But I mean, the way Trudeau talks is almost exactly what Joe Biden says. Now we know Joe Biden didn't come up with those words. He didn't write any of those speeches. But they are getting the same talking points.
Yeah.
Trudeau
Build back better, you guys.
Yeah. Trudeau's, I don't care if it's divisive or divisive or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Biden in his declaration, his Civil War II declaration speech a week or two ago, he literally said that I understand the anger that vaccinated people have for unvaccinated people. Think about that. He understands the anger that people that got the shot have for people who didn't get the shot. And
they always understand the anger when it's on their side, though.
Of course, like the BLM mob. But I was reading an article in ABC 7 New York, which is just, ABC 7 is awful, but then the New York locality of it is just on another planet. They ran an article that said health officials recommend adults get vaccinated to protect unvaccinated children who are not yet eligible. But those same vaccinated adults need to be protected from unvaccinated adults. Think about that. None of this makes any sense, but they are still selling it because I don't know if it's George Soros in a dungeon somewhere or who's coming up with this stuff, but they're obviously reading from the same playbook. And it's just a question that I ask myself all the time is, who is it actually? Is it Hillary? Is it Barack? Is it just the FDA themselves? Is it just the CDC? Is it Rochelle Walensky? Who is really calling these shots? Because they are exactly the same, even down to the lies that they ran about Florida, the lies that they ran about Texas, the lies that they ran about ivermectin. It all seems to be coming from the same place, and I just don't know what it is. It's a deep state or whatever, but who is it really? We don't know. We'll never know. And if you do know,
I don't know.
You will probably commit suicide.
Oh, that's a good place to end it. Eric Butler from TatumReport.com. I am Andrew from RebelNews.com. We have our Unauthorized Opinion podcast page up on YouTube. We will be streaming from it, I think, starting next week because of their weird little verification period of however long it is. But we'll be streaming from there. We're going to get it up on Spotify as well soon. So look out for those. Hopefully we can skirt the YouTube algorithm for a while. And by skirt YouTube, I just mean, get the message
Comply
of our
100%.
Yes, get the truth out to people as you see fit before you shut it down. Any final parting words, Eric?
No, I wish we could have got to Nikki, but I have a feeling
right
I have a feeling that the Nicki Minaj story is just getting started. So we will have to talk about that.
Maybe we can do an Instagram live or something this week about Nicki Minaj.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
What a thing I'd never thought I'd say.
Yeah. And I like to see. I like the fact that her best live stream is still. I check it every day. It's still up, so she's still standing behind that. She has removed the story post, or she did remove the story post before they expired because she had doxed those journalists. And I will go to bat for that version of doxing. I know it sounds a little absurd, but maybe we'll discuss it on another combo.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We keep going up every single week. So share the stories if you can. Share the clips. Share the episode. Vaccine salads. You know, people want to hear about that crazy crap. See you all next week.
Later.